Welcome back, friends, to another video. I have made a lot of videos that are pro-America, pro-democracy, and pro-free markets. But I am not above giving criticism to America where it is deserved. In this video, I'm going to talk about one of America's biggest mistakes, Guantanamo Bay. As an accountant, one of the first things I look at is cost. To understand the impact of something, you need to understand how much it is costing you. So how much does it cost for the United States to operate Guantanamo Bay? In 2019, the New York Times reported the US was spending $500 million per year to operate Guantanamo Bay. Today it is around $540 million. That is $13 million per prisoner. To put this into perspective, the cost to house a U.S. prisoner in the most secure supermax prison in the U.S., it costs $78,000 per year. It's not even close. Stay to the end of the video where I explain why this number is so important. There is a reason I am making this video now. 2 months ago, we hit the 20-year anniversary of the opening of Guantanamo Bay. This is a time we need to be evaluating whether this is working. I will share with you my opinion. I have been opposed to Guantanamo Bay from day one. I was horrified when they first opened it. It is a violation of everything we are supposed to stand for as Americans on basic human rights. We have picked up people around the world, torturing them using waterboarding, and are holding them illegally in prison without charges and without due process. Both Democrats and Republicans are responsible for these crimes against humanity. President George W. Bush opened it. President Obama specifically promised during his campaign that he would close it. He lied. He kept it open. President Trump did not close it. President Biden has not closed it. It has been 20 years and it is still open. The crazy thing is, it would be so easy to close it. Now, there are a lot of supporters out there of Guantanamo Bay saying it would be so difficult. No, it is not. All it takes is an executive order from the president, one signature, and the facility is closed. This is a blemish on our reputation. Especially at this time, when Russia is at war with Ukraine in a fight between democracy and tyranny. The U.S. needs to stand for human rights as a contrast to Russia. If we look at China's forced labor camps, how can we criticize China when we are operating Guantanamo Bay? On the 20-year anniversary, the United Nations released a press release accusing the U.S. of unrelenting human rights violations. We are being told by the world that what we are doing is wrong. Let's go back to the rationale behind why Guantanamo Bay was opened in the first place. The 9/11 attacks happened in the U.S., and we started the war against terrorism. The U.S. invaded Iraq and then Afghanistan. In this conflict, the U.S. captured a number of enemy soldiers that were not claimed by any nation. People captured during the war are supposed to be treated as prisoners of war according to the Geneva Convention. The U.S. argued that it did not apply in this situation. We just started imprisoning people without charges or due process, sometimes after torturing them. Why are these human rights so important? There's a very famous book called The Count of Monte Cristo, written in France in 1844. The main character in the story is wrongfully imprisoned when some of his friends become jealous of his success and his beautiful girlfriend. They wrongfully accuse him of treason against the government, and he is sent off to jail so they can take his fortune and his girlfriend. He is imprisoned on the accusations when he did nothing wrong. What if the same thing happened to someone who has been sitting in Guantanamo Bay for the last 20 years? Since they have not had a fair trial, we will never know. Someone with a gripe against them could have accused them of being a terrorist, and how would we know? This sets such a dangerous precedent. Do we really want the government to be operating a facility like this? If you say something against the government and they deem you as a dangerous person, what is to stop them from picking you up in the middle of the night and disappearing you to Guantanamo Bay where you have no rights? Let's say Donald Trump gets elected president again. Donald Trump does not like Nancy Pelosi very much. What is to stop him from sending the Secret Service to pick up Nancy Pelosi and sending her to Guantanamo Bay? Now you might say, Zach, that's illegal. There are laws in place to prevent that from happening. But isn't that the whole point? The whole thing is illegal. Guantanamo Bay is illegal. There's no laws about any of this. We should not be doing it to anybody. We were told this was a necessary evil because the people being held were so bad we could not afford to release them. But this was revealed to be false. Here is a memo that was written by Donald Rumsfeld, Secretary of Defense under George W. Bush, when the prison was first opened. In the memo, he is directing the Joint Chiefs of Staff, we need to stop populating Guantanamo Bay with low-level enemy combatants. It is not a prison for Afghanistan. This was written at the same time he was telling the American people the prisoners at Guantanamo Bay were the worst offenders. But it turns out some of them were low-level people that they picked up during the war in Afghanistan. Not only is it unjust, it's not accomplishing anything, and the politicians are lying about it to the American people. Now, there may be an argument that we needed to protect the lives of our U.S. soldiers. We had soldiers fighting in Afghanistan, and if we released these people, they would go back and kill those soldiers. So by keeping these people in prison, we were saving the U.S. soldiers' lives. But we don't have any soldiers in Afghanistan anymore. The U.S. left. The Taliban is now running Afghanistan. So why are we still holding these people? There are 39 men left in Guantanamo Bay who have been held for 20 years. We were wrong to hold them in the first place. In my opinion, we should drop them off in Afghanistan and close the prison. There is another argument that Guantanamo Bay prevents future terrorist attacks in the U.S. I find this argument lacking. If anything, the fact the U.S. operates an illegal prison only fuels the anger of terrorists. A more effective way would be to police the borders and keep terrorists out of the country in the first place. I think any argument that Guantanamo Bay is preventing attacks on U.S. soil is weak. Throughout the prison's history, the U.S. has imprisoned nearly 800 people at Guantanamo Bay. I am willing to bet that at least some of them were innocent. Now just imagine this. Just imagine if you were picked up from your home one day, taken to a prison, tortured, not charged with any crime, not able to prove your innocence, had no due process, and then held in prison for 20 years. I am betting you would find it deeply unfair. Any way you look at this, what we are doing at Guantanamo Bay is deeply immoral. Now, I know that some of these people may be related to the horrible events of 9/11, and if they are, they should be brought to justice. But if that is the case, arrest them, present your evidence, and convict them in a court of law. If you don't have any evidence, maybe they didn't do it. You cannot just hold someone in prison because you feel like it. We decided that a long time ago when we founded the United States of America. You are innocent until proven guilty. Let us go back to the cost. We are paying over $500 million per year to operate Guantanamo Bay. Why is this amount important? In government accounting, this is a recurring cost. It is something we have to pay for every single year going into the future. In comparison, a one-time cost has a limited impact in 1 year. So if we close this prison, it has a huge impact on the budget. Let's look at the budget. In 2021, the U.S. budget deficit was $2.8 trillion. This means we are spending more money than the government raises in taxes. This is mostly funded by issuing government debt. We are losing enormous amounts of money every single year. If this continues, the U.S. will be in big trouble. The FY21 financial report is issued by the U.S. Treasury and signed by Janet Yellen, Secretary of the Treasury. In this report, it raises concerns over the growing U.S. debt. Recently, because of the COVID-19 pandemic, the U.S. has taken out an enormous amount of new debt. The report shows this by looking at the debt to GDP ratio, which was about 100% at the end of FY 2021. So the U.S. is holding as much debt as the amount of goods and services we produce each year. The report states, the projected continuous rise of the debt to GDP ratio indicates that current policy is unsustainable. Here is a chart that shows the U.S. debt to GDP since 1940. You can see that on the long term, the average debt to GDP ratio is 49%. Normally, it remains quite low. The last time it spiked so high was during World War II. The U.S. is going to have to find another war quick because we are at wartime levels once again. The point is that the current state is unsustainable. This has to change. Either the U.S. raises taxes on the wealthy, or we cut costs, or a combination of both. We have to cut costs. So here we have Guantanamo Bay. If the president wanted to, he could close it today. It is an immediate savings of $500 million per year. Remember, our current budget deficit is $2.8 trillion. This one change would plug a huge portion of the budget deficit. Not only is the prison wrong, we cannot afford it, even if we did not let the prisoners go. If we just transferred them to U.S. prisons, the total cost is $78,000 per year per prisoner. With 39 prisoners, that is roughly $3 million. So as a taxpayer, consider these two choices. One costs $500 million, and the other costs $3 million. What are we doing? I think the answer is clear. Given current world events, given the U.S. financial situation, given the moral obligation we have to promote human rights, we must close Guantanamo Bay, and we must do it now. Now I want to hear from you. I know there are people out there who disagree with me on this. What do you think? Should we close Guantanamo Bay? Leave your comments down below. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Zach from Wolves in Finance. Let's go out and make some money.